Mendeecees apparently became involved with authority. Formal declaration, no publicly available documents, nothing that can be used as proof of veracity. However, the internet language was harsh: detained, questioned, and arrested. Terms that conjure images of bright lights, sirens, and a guy being pulled away as cameras rush to get a glimpse. According to the posts, it wasn't a peaceful discussion. There was pressure. It was a panic. It was the type of instance where, in the midst of all that chaos, pride becomes survival. One thing that kept coming up. It was referred to as a run-in by some, a hidden link-up by others, and a careless error by a few. Fans on the internet painted it, whatever it was, similar to the spark that ignited an entire room. According to one page, Tamar and Mendeecees were in the same location at the same time. And there were enough witnesses to make denial difficult. According to a different page, it might have been a trap, a setup, or someone attempting to harm lives in order to gain attention. However, the narrative kept returning to the same theme. Everyone is rushing. Single quotes did not immediately appear. Yandy is silent. Admirers become even more anxious. Make two assumptions in the midst of chaos. She's either collecting receipts or attempting to control her temper in public. According to the stories, she learned the same information as everyone else. Not through a private discussion, but by rumors, and you can already picture the betrayal sitting like a boulder in her chest if that's the case. Yandy has been portrayed for years as the woman who keeps her, which has astonished many, who, despite her anger, speaks calmly and maintains stability in the household. However, recent reports indicate that control wasn't the mood. According to one story, Yandy was aggressive and trembling, not fear. Another said she was pacing, making consecutive phone calls, and posing the same question in multiple ways. Who made this statement? Why do they say that? The more dramatic article then began promoting a scene that seems to have been taken directly from reality TV, when Mendeecees is purportedly attempting to calm Yandy down over the phone. She confronts him and cuts him off. A voice that sounds like a warning dismisses him. Fans said, "Don't you dare talk to me like I'm stupid." According to reports, she snapped, "Before I hear it from strangers, because I'm witness that every..." Out of course, all of that is based on online talk. But the energy, rather than words, was what gave the audience a sense of realism. The remarks grew harsh as soon as Yandy's response was included in the story. She has been carrying the burden of loyalty while everyone else plays games, according to several supporters who backed her like family and said others attempted to misrepresent, calling her theatrical and asserting that she only reacts shining. Then there were those repulsive perspective. Taking a serious turned into insults, and didn't take long for the argument after the fact. Reports about Tamar, however, kept changing, as if the narrative couldn't diversion. She was being falsely accused of being the victim of a nasty gossip. She was reported as the one who verified second. Such is when she reportedly told a close friend or relative that she was no longer able to conceal the fact that the test was real. According to other messages, she was distraught, crying, feeling alone, and being watched. Others said she was upset because she thought someone information to harm her. In any case, the story portrayed her as a person in a nightmare, where every rumor becomes a headline, rather than as a far-off celebrity, which surprised admirers. The purported stakes allegedly increased at that point, because when names with actual families are associated with health rumors on the internet, real relationships and genuine reputations, it ceases to be amusement for many. All of a sudden, the discussion suddenly turns brutal, emotional, moral, and legal. People began to inquire about accountability. They began to inquire about the possibility of a lawsuit. They began discussing who could have evidence, as if anyone should be spreading such content like a meme. According to the rumors, Mendeecees felt surrounded by people, not just by his admirers. Internet account, he was purportedly under pressure from friends and family. demanding explanations, and the public making guilt out of every minute of quiet. According to one myth, he attempted to put an end to it by claiming that none of this was true. However, when the internet is craving upheaval, it seldom accepts calm denial, which is why it didn't land. The rumor cycle then took a major turn. An assertion that a member of the circle threatened to reveal everything, includes timelines and communications, unless certain people quit lying. At that point, the narrative changed from being a chaotic rumor to seeming like extortion. And followers were taken aback by the change in tone from gossip to danger. People began to say that it's over if the receipts stop coming in. And that concept alone caused the audience to go crazy as once receipts of phony ones are available, everyone chooses a side before the truth can breathe. Throughout it all, characterized as having the most potential to destroy everything and the most to lose, she was portrayed in the rumor pages as a lady choosing between defending her house and shattering the story before it destroys her. One purported, this is what caused the unpurported quote, but this is what caused the whole thing to seem to have advanced to a new level. According to the study, Yandy reacted strategically rather than just emotionally. She apparently began contacting friends, producers, and anybody else who could assist manage the narrative because veracity of the stories, their impact is real when millions of people spread them. And the story was no longer about a single night at that point. It concerned reputation, trust, and the type of crisis that compelled to reveal their true selves. Fans weren't questioning, is this true? After the conclusion of the initial wave of reports, they were curious about what would happen next, since, even in the absence of proof, the narrative had already changed people's perceptions about relationships. Yandy became a symbol of treachery as a result. Mendeecees became a target as a result. Tamar became embroiled in a scandal as a result. Might not have requested it. The audience was left to monitor each post, quiet and ambiguous quote, in an attempt to guess who would break first. The atmosphere surrounding everyone engaged grew heavier, like the air before a storm breaks, while the rumor itself continued to become louder and uglier by the minute as the clamor continued to develop. The speed at which individuals began to take sides increased the intensity of the situation. Some followers claimed to be able to decipher past interviews by pulling up clips where Mendeecees claimed everything made after dismissing a query or laugh. Others vehemently disagreed, claiming that the internet was acting as it always does, converting conjecture into certainty in the absence of evidence. However, the harm was already occurring in real time and could not be undone. The tale began to change behind the scenes. According to new allegations, the night in issue was coincidental. Rather, it came after a period developing covertly for months. These accounts stated that there had been unpleasant talks. Awkward rooms when people close to the issue observed a change in, but didn't give it. These insignificant now being reinterpreted as warning indicators that everyone had overlooked. Replaying previous film, fans examined timing, tone, and body language like detectives, convinced that the truth had been there all along. The purported response from the indies merely fueled the flames. According to some pages, he deliberately remained mute because he thought that being quiet would allow the story to fade away. He was told to be quiet since whatever he said could be misconstrued according to others. But in situations like these, silence never reads as serene. Some see it as dread, others as guilt, and still others as strategy. The internet filled in the spaces with its own version of events, becoming louder the longer he remained silent. Tamar's name continued to trend in ways that seemed unrelenting in the meanwhile. According to reports, she felt overpowered by how quickly things got out of control. That could have begun as a private suddenly. The topic became a worldwide discussion. Supporters said she relied on close friends for support, attempting to maintain her composure as strangers discussed her life as if it were a TV storyline. Some even said that she thought about speaking up directly, but was told against it since anything she said might be misconstrued or used, against her subsequently. The situation's emotional impact began to affect public opinion. The rumor was no longer the exclusive topic of conversation among fans. They discussed betrayal, trust, and how celebrity exacerbates suffering. Long posts about how nobody truly knows when closed doors were written for everyone to pass judgment. Some were more critical, stating that living in public makes privacy an unaffordable. The parts with comments transformed into combat with malice. In every thread, there was another turn of events that caused more upheaval. According to a few rumor sites, Yandy had finally lost it. They claimed that she was no longer merely. She was sketching. They claimed that she faced Mendeecees head-on and demanded explanations rather than justifications. The description of it was impossible to smooth over the raw, angry discourse. Raised, shouts, tears, and moments when the truth seemed on the verge of spilling out before being pushed back in were all mentioned in several reports. Fans were quick to draw attention to how this situation felt different from previous disputes. This was more than just allegations of infidelity or complicated disputes. This has to do with reputation, trust, and health. 3 items that are more deeply than people began to claim that the emotional harm had already been done, even if everything turned out to be untrue. When uncertainty arises, it doesn't simply go away because the story gets worse on the internet. There was increasing conjecture around the purported arrest. Some said it was a situation where officials were involved for questioning rather than a full arrest. Others claimed that people had exaggerated it, pursuing clicks. However, the terminology used on the internet was intentional. Terms such as, even in the absence of proof, the image of being brought in, held, and escorted felt serious. Some fans insisted that the truth will be revealed eventually, while others disagreed on what it all signified. Others claim that some people are always protected by the system. This tale was further complicated by the part played by outsiders. Individuals who weren't directly involved started interjecting, leaving cryptic posts imprecise clues. And I know some remarks that only made matters worse. Each ambiguous phrase became a screenshot. Each emoji is a theory. It became impossible to distinguish between those seeking attention and those who were genuinely involved in the situation. However, the outcome remained the same: fear, confusion, and constant conjecture. Reactions or lack thereof became the analytical center. Her silence, according to some admirers, was a sign of strength, prioritizing dignity above turmoil. Others believed it indicated she was preparing a more significant statement or action that might alter the course of events entirely. Some even conjectured that she was already receiving advice from legal experts on what she could and could not say in public. Whether it was true or not, the notion that things had gotten that bad made the matter seem far more serious than internet drama. One thing remained constant throughout it all: the emotional cost. Rumor had it that those involved were overwhelmed, worn out, and agitated. It was said that friends were taking sides. Fans observing from the outside reportedly couldn't decide whether to feel amused or uneasy. And family members were reportedly requesting solitude. The distinction between show and truth became hazy. More every hour that goes by. The most striking thing was how easily stories can solidify into reality on the internet. When enough people recount the same story, it begins to seem plausible even in the absence of evidence. In this instance, the narrative contained every element necessary for rumors to endure: fame, secrecy, passion, and the hint of scandal. By now, people's beliefs were more important than merely what had occurred, and everything that came after was shaped by that belief. When the dust, the tension just thickened as it swirled. Officially, nothing had been verified. However, the stakes seemed quite high. Reputations were brittle. Relationships seemed strained. And the internet didn't seem to be slowing down. Everyone was wondering not only if the reports were still accurate, but also involved would be able to get out of the shadow they were creating. And as each hour went by, it felt more and it seemed more like the story was far from finished. with repercussions still to be discovered. The tone of the internet discussion started to noticeably change as the scenario continued to develop. The conversation was no longer solely motivated by shock or curiosity. Tension was present. As if they were waiting for something to fall, people began talking. Similar like the quiet before a storm that no one could foresee but everyone knew was coming. Every hour that passed without a comment felt heavier than the last. And the primary player's silence only served to heighten the drama and volume of the speculations. Some admirers began claiming that the silence was deliberate and that remaining when every statement could be distorted. The only thing left to do was. On the other hand, some contended precisely what exacerbated the situation. They believed that someone would have spoken by now if there was nothing to conceal. The crowd was about evenly divided between the two sides of that division, convinced that they were the ones with clear vision while the opposing side was oblivious due to bias or allegiance. At this moment, the rumors about Mendeecees became more intense, bringing us screenshots of interviews, context videos, started remarks that were now being reused. Fans created whole stories out of brief footage by focusing on tone, pauses, and facial expressions. Whether or not those readings were reasonable was irrelevant. They simultaneously their own lives once there were still rumors circulating regarding Tamar's emotional condition. According to several accounts, she felt caught between defending herself and defending others. Others speculated that she was upset that something personal had turned into a public. After a flurry of startling reports about Mendeecees, Tamar, and a night that supposedly altered everything started to circulate. The internet is on fire tonight, and fans can't stop checking their feeds. Even lifelong fans of the drama are finding it difficult to keep up with the claims that have escalated from subtle murmurs in internet circles to full-blown turmoil. Numerous widely shared posts claim that Tamar's purported medical confirmation set off an unexpected chain reaction. Mendeecees' name is currently being dragged into the middle of a storm that is increasing hourly. According to online sources, tensions behind the scenes escalated over a supposed late-night encounter. Fans claim that when rumors of a port started circulating and sending shockwaves via social media, things took a darker turn. All of a sudden, timelines were overflowing with conjecture, screenshots, and strong opinions, with several people repeatedly posing the same query: how on earth did this occur? More significantly, who was aware of what and when? The surge of officials intervened soon after everything was what actually threw the internet into meltdown mode. Some claim that Mendeecees was spotted in an uncomfortable situation that soon got out of hand, leading to rumors of an arrest related to the controversy. Although there is information, enthusiasts are certain that something significant is going on. Descended clips, voice notes, and purported eyewitness reports began to circulate, adding gasoline to an already burning fire, and emotions ran high. Then there's Yandy. The tone of the story suddenly changed when her name came up. Her response, according to fans, was anything but composed. As the story spread like wildfire, insiders say she felt taken aback, deceived, and enraged. Now, social media investigators are every action and post she makes, attempting to read between the lines at every quiet moment. She's standing strong, according to some. Others think that this might be the breaking point. As of right now, nobody can tell what is true, what is inflated, and what has been perverted by the internet's insatiable thirst for drama. One thing is certain, though: the family at the center of it all seems more divided than ever. Fans are stunned, and emotions are running high. And people are left wondering as more purported details keep coming to light. Is this the start of a huge fallout from which no one will be able to recover? It began as these storms always do. Silent, but deadly. A few wobbly screenshots drifting across group chats. A few late-night posts, and then that one statement that makes everyone sit up straight. It goes beyond chatter this time. The whispers about Tamar heading for days, so fans were all. However,